This week's episode of Star Wars Resistance was called Signal from Sector 6, which wound up being an intriguing title for what I found to be a boring story, but it definitely moved the pirate plot forward, so let's get into it. Yeager wakes Kaz up for some mysterious early morning salvage work, and Kaz keeps asking what they're doing, and Yeager says, "You ask too many questions, sometimes you just have to let yourself be surprised," which is probably something Star Wars fans in general should take to heart, including myself. Just sit back and enjoy the ride, you know? We don't need to figure out everything that's going to happen before it does. Anyway, the salvage job winds up being a secret meeting with Poe, and the character's return to the series was the saving grace of the first half of this episode. His interactions with Kaz were funny, especially the younger pilot misinterpreting BB-8 being asked if he missed Poe, and his enthusiastic admission that yes, he did miss Poe. Don't worry, Kaz, we all missed him. Kaz gets to borrow an X-Wing and an astromech droid named CB-23, who also happens to idolize Poe and is jealous of BB-8. They all head off into an asteroid field to practice maneuvers and discuss Doza and the First Order's involvement on the Colossus. Poe teaches Kaz a new move that we'll talk about a little later, but then they intercept a distress signal from the titular Sector 6 and they investigate. They find a freighter that fell under pirate attack and begin to search for survivors. We're shown a large, shadowy threat, but that's put on hold when they run into Kowakian monkey lizards like Salacious Crumb, and they are as annoying as you would expect them to be. There's a silly little struggle that ends with Poe literally shooting one to death, which I actually did think was pretty funny and unexpected. I also appreciated BB-8 helping CB-23, and the two of them start to act affectionate towards each other, ending their rivalry. Having read the Poe Dameron comic, it's kinda nice seeing BB-8 get his flirt on. In the comic, he had a bit of a crush on a droid named Ivy that wound up sacrificing herself to save Jess Pava. I think she would have wanted BB-8 to be happy. Eventually, Poe and Kaz find an unconscious survivor, and being the do-gooders that they are, decide to rescue her. On the one hand, this is frustrating to us because we've seen this character before as part of the pirate crew, and we know this is a bad move. On the other hand, Kaz never saw her face. He did come close, but that was a pretty stressful situation and she had a mask on. But they work to get her off the ship, and that's when we run into the real threat, which is simply a giant monkey lizard that Black Series Rebels has appropriately named Swalacious Crumb. Gotta say, I wasn't expecting that, and I kinda like that the monkey lizards can turn from annoyances into legitimate threats. Come to think of it, that fits well with one of the themes I've seen pop up over and over again in this show, and that is when annoyances or inconveniences are ignored or left to their own devices, they turn into much bigger problems. 2 episodes ago, we got to see how most of the galaxy currently views the First Order. They haven't been openly attacking the known galaxy, so they're mostly ignored. 30 years without anyone keeping them in check gave them time to become a serious problem. Poe and Kaz narrowly make it out, and on the way they run into more pirates. Kaz escapes by mastering that maneuver Poe showed him earlier in the episode. I do like that we got some time with Kaz in a cockpit. We've spent 5 episodes with him mostly on the ground messing up, so it's a relief to see him doing something he's good at. It did take him some time to learn that backwards tail slide, as Poe called it, but it's interesting seeing Kaz's attitude when he's flying. He keeps working until he's good at something. He perseveres. We've seen him grumble about being a mechanic and spy quite a bit, but he's not giving up, and I think part of his story will be to continue improving in those areas until he's good at both. Back on Castellon, the pirate girl wakes up, reveals her name is Sonara, and provides a cover story so Kaz will register her on Colossus. He does, and she reports in with her boss, Kragan. I think a lot of people are going to blame Kaz for being stupid and trusting her without reason, but the blame falls on Poe and Yeager too. While I am interested in seeing what will become of the pirates, having someone on the inside, and how that'll all play out, it just felt frustrating in this episode. Poe especially seems too ready to trust her, and her final reveal just didn't land because I recognized Sonara as a pirate from the first time we saw her. That's the downside of overanalyzing everything in Star Wars, I guess. I'm grateful that this episode set up some interesting plot points for the future. Oscar Isaac was great again as Poe, and there were some genuinely enjoyable moments, but this was my least favorite episode so far. It was goofier than most, and I found it to be overly predictable. The next episode is called Sonara's Score, so at least it looks like we'll be following up on those developments right away, and I'm hopeful the payoff will be fun. But that's it from me. I'm curious to see what you guys thought of this episode, so let me know in the comments, especially if you disagree with me. Let me know what you liked about it. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and consider checking out our Patreon page. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.